Okay, I just wanted to show you, this is the Sega Master System 2. And this is what it looks like with the cartridge holder in the up position. Obviously that's the same exact system. This is with the tray down, that's with it up. And this is how it looks next to the original Sega Master System. The Master System 2 obviously did not have, this is the Master System 1, had the card slot. The Master System 2 did not. Okay, that was a major drawback. But ultimately that also meant that it couldn't play Sega 3D games, because in order to play the Sega 3D, even if it was a cartridge, you had to put in the 3D glasses. I believe you had to utilize that slot. Okay, I do not have the glasses with me. I'll show them at another time. You can obviously see this is the same cartridge. Now, this is how this looks next to the Sega Genesis. Okay. And this is how it looks next to the Genesis 2. There's the Sega Saturn, and there's the Dreamcast. So this is somewhat of what Sega had to offer. Okay, now we turn this unit around. Very nice looking unit. Although, interestingly, it was actually not as good as the original Master System. Meaning it looked nicer, but it didn't deliver the same performance. It played the cartridges, but the original Sega Master System, look, had AV jacks and an RF switch. The Master System 2 didn't have that feature. All you had was the RF switch. Okay, the AV jacks could deliver tremendously better reception. Okay, I'm going to turn this unit around. Okay, here's the Master System 2. Right, that's the Master System 2 from a different angle. And now with it turned around, it says model MK3006. Sega Power Base. Need help? Dial 1-800-USA-SEGA. Sega Enterprises. Okay. If we turn over this other power base, I assume we're getting... Okay, here, this other power base gives different information. Okay, this says power base. Okay. This indicates that it was made in Japan. Which means that they did not spare expenses. That's usually the indication. Which is the reason why it was rumored that they were losing money. Most game systems, they lose money on every unit they sell. There's a debate as to whether or not it's true. Meaning, they're willing to make money on cartridges, but when they sell you the system itself, it costs them more to make the system than they sell to the store. Some people believe that that's baloney, and others believe that that's the case. So it's for you to decide whether or not that's true. I would tend to believe it. I mean, some of these systems were pretty cheap. And the Dreamcast, they were, you know, that eventually was only $59.99 for that incredible system. Here's the original Sega Master System. The Model 3010. Made in Taiwan, Sega of America. Okay. This is not terribly important, but we're just giving some information. This is an older Sega Genesis. You can see that their number was not 1-800-USA-SEGA. So this is one of the earlier Genesises. Okay, so it's really not terribly important, but I'm just pointing this out. Here's the Genesis 2. The system is in good shape right here. Maybe I should get a picture of that. Okay, you turn it around. You need help, dial 1-800-USA-SEGA. This is called the MK1631. I've already shown all this stuff in better detail in other videos, but I did want to show you the Master System 2, and since I have all these other Sega Genesis around, I might as well do a comparison. I mean, here's the Sega Saturn. Okay. Here's how the Sega Saturn looks next to the Sega Dreamcast. See, the Dreamcast is a very nice, sleek system, and still heavy. It was very well built, obviously. They said, you know, Sega never spared expensive. I mean, the Sega Saturn was a very well built system. I think one of the drawbacks was the CD tray. Oh, there it is. You can see. You see that the lens was in a very bad position, where sometimes when you opened up the tray and put a game in, you would accidentally touch the lens, and that would cause problems. Okay, let's see what's behind the Saturn. Obviously, there's a cartridge port for memory cards and Game Shark. The Game Shark was a Game Shark that could fit in there. And this says the MK8000 unit. Made in Japan. Had a communication connector and an audio video jack. I just noticed this right here. I've owned the system and never even noticed it. So obviously there was another port for possible future memory. Can barely see it. Okay, so upside down. Okay, and it's going to tell you that it was manufactured in April 1995. If I'm not mistaken, it was released in April 1995. I can't remember. I remember that they had a surprise launch, which they did in order to get ahead of Sony, but it didn't work. In fact, they released it before the system was really ready, so if anything, it backfired. And here's the Sega Dreamcast. Fantastic. This system had a lot of great games. Okay, turn it around. And it says the Dreamcast, the model HKT-3020. Manufactured November 1999. Made in China, interesting. Okay, so, and here's a port that I've never even noticed. Oh, here's the phone line. Here's the AV jack serial port. So, because it was released in 1999 and this was in April 1995, it shows you that the Saturn was short-lived. The Saturn was very well supported though. There were a lot of games made for it. But this just shows you the evolution of Sega gaming systems. And as you know, after the Dreamcast, Sega, I think they announced that they would only be making cartridges and not they would only be making games. Cartridges, I hope that someday they start making cartridges again, because I don't really care for DVDs. I mean, the DVDs hold a lot of information and they're really great graphics and what have you, but I really prefer the convenience of a cartridge. Okay, so there's, obviously they made more systems than this, but this just gives you some idea as to what Sega was all about. Sayonara. This is probably not important, but here's the back to the Sega Master System. I believe I've already shown this on other systems, the Sega Master System, but I just want to be sure. This is the model 3010. Okay, that was the famous model. That's what it was called. And the best thing about this was with the card slot. See? In other words, you could put a cartridge in this way. A little tiny, little thin credit card type thing went here. That was the best part about this system, which the Master System 2 lacked. Okay? Sayonara.